Now, hi everybody. Welcome to the show. This is Dave Emmons, and this is the Strange Reality Show. And I have guests that talk about very interesting subjects, and I'm happy that a lot of you people on Facebook, especially, I know I gotta reach out. I'm going to have a media specialist help me out and take over on a lot of things, going to Rumble and YouTube and things of that nature. And I got about 8 different platforms, but I'm not a techie person, and everybody knows that. I don't have a lot of fabulous, technical things going on. It's just content is what I'm going after, and these people that are very smart, and like the Dr. Macklin that I got on the show now. He's been here before. A great show. We got a lot of things to talk about, and a lot of things that are actually current events. We're going to talk about the drones. We're going to talk about the snow. We're going to talk about the fog. We're going to talk about all the fires and the deep state and things of this nature that's going on, and also the underground ETs. I think that's what Dr. Macklin's alluding to. I think we talked about it before. Draconians and the other foul players, the Satanists or whatever. But this is my new book that just was printed and put out today, so you can order it Amazon, Kindle, and it's on Lulu, Coco, and Google. You can find it there. And this is what I wrote almost going on 3 years now. This book right here, this is all my UFO and ET encounters that I've had throughout my life. And I'm sitting here talking to Dr. Macklin about what's going on with the drones and with the ET possibilities and the disclosure possibilities that Dr. Macklin's been talking about. We're going to have Dr. Greer have a disclosure soon, and he's supposed to have it this week with a lot of experts, about 20 different whistleblowers. But I think a lot of things that he's going to show us is something that we've probably already seen. But what I'm looking forward to is what President Trump, or soon to be President Trump, next Tuesday is going to make an announcement about the drones. He told a whole bunch of, I guess, they had a press corps there, and he told them all. He said he's going to tell everybody all about what the drone phenomena is all about, because he said that Biden and our government and the Pentagon and military knows what these things are, and they can follow them anywhere. They know where they're coming from. So he's going to disclose that. Let's hold him to that. And that's one of the things I'm looking forward to. And I'm not going to be shocked or surprised about ETs because I've seen them when I was 13 years of age, and I know Dr. Macklin has also. My guest, I'm talking about Dr. Christopher Macklin. He was born a highly aware psychic child in Chester, England. Christopher Macklin was able to perceive energy fields, spirit activity, and multi-dimensional phenomena from a very young age, to meditate for hours a day and 4 years in order to integrate his highest path and to understand the divine healing that he was being called to share with the world. Understanding of how these toxins breaks down in the body immune system and heads and leads to catastrophic consequences. And we just talked about that, what's going on with the snow and all this stuff. His exemplary research findings are called From Scientific Evidence, Intuitive Information, Divine Connection, and which makes him a highly respected speaker, lecturer, and medical consultant worldwide. And we'll let you know what his website is throughout the show. Dr. Christopher Macklin serves an international client base, helping thousands of people rebalance and heal from various physical, mental, and emotional issues. His clients' testimonials serve as ample proof in understanding the life changing experiences he was able to facilitate. He and his wife, Amanda, have founded the Global Enlightenment Project. You can look that up on Google and find it, to serve an awakening humanity to support the healing needs of people all over the earth. For more information, then go to that site. Today, Dr. Christopher is an internationally known energy healer who specializes in healing people from all forms of illness, emotional and physical, especially those created through ET technologies such as Morgellons. And we've heard about those little wormy things. Lyme disease too. I guess he puts that in there. I've never heard that before. We'll talk about that, Dr. Macklin. Yeah, but yeah, but he has developed his own protocol for removing them from the body. Dr. Macklin treats emotional disorders, including addictions, chronic depression, schizophrenia, and bipolar disorder. the whole person and their whole life are treated. Therefore, relationships and families, loved ones can also be repaired and restored. Uh, Dr. Macklin with his team, I guess he works with a team also. Some people, I think we talked about that last time. I'm not sure how many people he worked with, but he's highly respected in UFO. He's highly respected as a UFO expert and medical intuitive, remote viewer, and spiritual teacher and energetic healer for his work in assisting people in achieving optimal spiritual, mental, emotional, physical health. His work, which addresses a wide range of mind, body, spirit imbalances to overall wellness, which he well received and resonates with the general public who have been experiencing all kinds of emotions, chronic mental imbalances, increased physical illnesses during the pandemic. That is basically it's a long list here, and I know that if we read it, I'll never be able to let Dr. Macklin talk. But uh, Dr. Macklin, I know what you want to cover. We're going to do some of the recent stuff, some of the what's going on in the world now and today, and you talked about other topics that we're going to get into. But tell us what you're up to now, and tell us a little bit. And I told you my feelings. What have happened to me the last month or so has been weak and really tired. And you mentioned something about that a while ago, and I'd like to hear your diagnosis of that, and other people might be interested in hearing that too, because a lot of people have been wore out, tired, exhausted from all this stress from around the world. Dr. Christopher Macklin, welcome to the show, buddy. Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Bless your heart. It's great to be here. Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, I always, you know, I'm always cheerful with you because you're a cheerful guy, and but you've been through some things. You've had some, your heart operation and everything. You're coming through that very good. I'm glad to see that, and bless God and bless, the I guess the people or the entities that you communicate with, and what you mentioned a while ago. Dr. Macklin, tell us what you're doing now and after your recovery, and you're getting back to work and doing your thing now. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was interesting. I'll just talk about what happened here, So if you don't mind. So what happens is about July last year, I was talking a lot about the Vatican, how satanic they are. They're as holy as a hot dog poo, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Everyone loves them, but who knows? Anyway, talking about how it works, the Luciferians, everything else. Out of left field, I got hit really bad and I got really sick within days. And it was a low frequency energy weapon. They have low frequency energy weapons. And what happens with these is that they can focus it on part of your actual body where they'll actually melt the cusps of the heart valve together. They can actually melt the lungs together as well, but they didn't do that with me. They just chose the aortic valve, melted it together, it became bicuspal. I got really sick. The heart wasn't pumping. And, I got so bad one night, I went to the emergency room. They checked the heart out. Heart's perfect, except for this valve. Oh, that's interesting. So, anyway, they did a lot of tests and I got worse and worse and worse. I couldn't even walk about 3 or 4 feet, I was so bad. And so they booked us in, and I asked my Melchizedek beings because I said, how long would it take us to rebuild this heart valve? Oh, about 4 or 5 months. How long do I have to live? About 8 weeks. I said, oh, we better get something done about it. So I did open heart surgery. They cut your chest open, rip it out, and took out the heart valve. One thing that was interesting is my heart is actually the size of a volleyball, which is really unusual. The surgeon was pretty shocked. Anyway, cut long story short, he didn't have a valve big enough to take care of it, so he had to reduce the hole in the heart, put a new valve in. Anyway, here we are. I've been through the mill a bit, but I feel amazing. My body hasn't caught up. I still can only lift about 5 pounds, otherwise I'll tear my chest open. But it just shows you what extent they will go to put duct tape over your mouth.
I know. I
And
told you
it's really interesting.
told you earlier, I was followed last year until I went to the police, and then, but I feel like I've been hit by energy several times, and I've been really exhausted and tired feeling this past 4 or 5 weeks, and a lot of people have. You hear it on the internet all the time. They say, "Do you feel like I feel?" I feel completely drained. I feel so tired. I just don't want to go on. I don't feel like I don't want to go on. I keep going on. I'll never stop. Just like you, Dr. Macklin. You said, you have to
We're
jump.
doing it.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm glad we both can laugh about your situation that you just had. A very, a open heart surgery is pretty tough, and we both talked
Oh,
about
it is, yeah.
Macklin. Yeah, you're coming
Well,
through.
before I got so bad, actually, I gained 80 pounds of water. My belly was out here, and it was crushing my intestines. I was throwing up all the time. It was crazy, really crazy. But here we are now. What's interesting is it's made me realize that they do go after people, and so. But will I change? Will I change what I'm doing? Absolutely not. My belief is getting truth, and I'm all about truth. And I think it's important, I've been working with these particles, Morgellon particles and different things for the last 14 years, with a very top leading world toxicologist. And, one thing I've learned is that, how would you heal something if you don't understand how it works? And these particles are very different, 10 to the minus 9 small. They're bound with nylons, they're bound with silicates. They transmit receive frequencies, and the nanospheres have up to 92 viruses. So it's like having a football. Get a football, drill 92 holes in it, load it with viruses, and then cover the top off. And then what they do is they send a trigger. Every single virus has a different frequency, like Marburg. Like one thing I'm seeing right now is cerebellar zoster, which is chickenpox. And people are going out and suddenly getting chicken pox, for no reason. Why is that? Because they on the 5G, they're triggering frequencies to open the little hole that allows cerebellar zoster to get in your body. So this is crazy stuff.
And
And
we talked, Dr. Macklin, about the snow and the fog that's hitting a lot of people now, and you're talking about that you can actually burn some of this snow, and it's got plastic elements in it, Dr. Macklin. And
yeah, that
this is for entertainment purposes only, in case the platform gets a little nervous about what we're saying. But a lot of this is facts, and I know I've heard it before, and you're talking facts here, Dr. Macklin. But this is for entertainment purposes. I want to say that one time only for the people on the platforms. Go ahead, Dr. Macklin.
absolutely, so it snowed here in the Ozarks, and we're in the Ozarks, near Branson, Missouri, around Ridgedale, that's where the house is. So it snows, and our friend came round and she stayed the night, and then she gets this ball of snow and let's light it, So she lit it and it started charring. Now, proper snow is just water that's frozen, So if you light it, it's just going to melt. This stuff was burning, So what's in it? And that was after the fog, which is really interesting because this fog, they I think that what they were doing is they were creating the fog, which is, weather manipulation. And once they've got a fog over, they can get drones to actually start spraying out pathogens like, influenza A and B, which is a coronavirus. And they can actually, it's hitting a lot of people. A lot of people are sick right now with the flu. Of course, it's the bird flu. Oh, it's not.
Yeah.
You know, I remember in COVID, I worked with 500 labs, 1,600 aspirates. An aspirate is a piece of snot, or mucus, either in the lungs or somewhere. These labs tested every single thing all over the world, and they never found SARS-2. They only found influenza A or B, which is the flu. Now, I wouldn't say they haven't modified it because one of the things I'm seeing at the moment is that when people get the flu, they can't cough up the mucus. Why is that? Because they've redesigned it so that the mucus is very sticky. It's like a bioweapon. It sticks to the bronchial tract and the lungs, and you try and cough it up. You're coughing, coughing, and nothing's coming out. And so, if people are having that problem, one of the things that really helps is bay leaf tea. It helps break down the mucus if you are having that problem. But a lot of people are getting sick from these influenzas and these coronaviruses and these pathogens. And so that's what the fog was, and there was plastic, in the fog. People are there's so many videos online, they shine a torch and there's like big bits of plastic, the plastic is nylon. And what they do is they encase different things like the nanotech. And so, you breathe it in and it's in your body, it's crazy.
I
There's
had
a lot
that,
of stuff
yeah,
going on.
I had that cough last year about this time. They call it the 30-day cough. Well, this cough went about 90 days. And I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
any mucus, like you said. It was like a white sputum, like spit. It wasn't, any mucus. So I couldn't really cough anything up. And it was a horrible cough. And it was a dry cough. So I don't know if that's what's going on this year. I know I heard, well, my family, a couple of family members had a cold and a cough, and it only lasted a few days. So there is that going around. So I don't know what that is. But we're talking about our food supply. And I guess Robert F. Kennedy is supposed to look into our food, because we've been having a lot of alerts for poison in our food. We got toxins in our food. We got actually, plastic pieces in our hot dogs and things of that nature. And is this all designed to scare us, or is this real, Dr. Macklin?
Oh, it's real. Yeah. I mean, Coca-Cola signed $1 billion deal with Microsoft to start putting nano in their Coca-Cola, which is really interesting. The problem with microplastics is it basically starts to build up and it causes arterial blockages, especially the nylon. If you look on the internet, do a search on the internet, with undertakers or people in path labs, and what's happening when people are dying, they're pulling out what they call squid. It's like squid stuff out of the carotid artery, and they say, "What's that?" And they don't know. I've been working with stuff for 14 years. Do I have a degree in microbiology? That'd be a no. Am I a doctor? Oh, definitely don't want to be a doctor because what do? They practice medicine. They practice medicine. I go with facts. I go with people who actually research stuff and really understand it. And nylon 36 and 33, if you look at a shirt, it's nylon 9. Nylon 36, 33 has a different consistency and can adapt itself to the type of water. So if it's pervious. And so what happens is it grows. How the heck does it grow? Well, if you look back a little bit with Morgellons particles, and we've been looking at this for a long, long time, off-planet technology, they bind, you need something to make it grow, like carbon. Carbon makes things grow. Oh, that'd be graphene. So what they've done is they've used the off-planet technology to bind things like nylon 36, 33, silicates, plant material, and they've also got things like, spike protein, HIV microinserts. They've also bound beryllia to the particles, so they're biologically alive. And I was shocked one day because I phoned this lady who I learned all this stuff off, and I said, I'm kind of overwhelmed. She said, oh no, don't worry about it. I said, no, 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 I'm not overwhelmed what the stuff is. I understand exactly what it is. What I'm overwhelmed by is the fact that anybody could ever develop this stuff and deliver it to people's bodies. Because, of course, if it's 10 to the minus nine, it sinks through the skin. You can't get away from it. So, anyway, what happens is, so the growth, you need oxygen, you need water, you need warmth. It's all in the body. So what happens with all these nanoparticles is that they start replicating and they grow and they actually grow through the actual tissue in your body, your heart, your lungs, you become transhuman. It's crazy.
Oh, I just wonder why and who would want to do this. I think we both have our hunches, Dr. Macklin. I know you were telling me earlier the deep state and some ET races and things of this nature and I agree with you. I think the ETs probably run this planet, and they actually are our politicians are puppets. But I think the man that's coming in now, they want to fight him and get him out so bad. I think he just goes against their grain. And I thought, oh,
Absolutely.
yeah, he's the man I want. The ones that the bad guys hate. Well, that's who you want. I mean, a lot of people don't understand that. And I'm not wanting to get into politics, and I don't want to. I talk to both. both political parties, friends. I got friends and I talk to them. There's no use of fighting and arguing over this stuff. We just need to use common sense. And what you're talking about, Dr. Macklin, we need to raise our consciousness and see what's going on around us and find out what's going around us. Hopefully, the government will start telling us the truth. Now, I guess, with all this, with the food, I guess salmonella and all these toxins that they're talking about in our food. It's scary. If they told us not to eat this and eat that, we'd go hungry. Maybe is that what they want us to do? Is starve to death, Doctor Macklin?
Oh yeah, they want to contaminate the food, I think, so bad that there's no food available that's really healthy. I mean, they irradiate bananas, and the other thing, if you get a pepper, or anything from, from a store in this country, how long's it been in someone's warehouse where it's been chemically ripened? And the answer is could have been 6 months. Who knows? And there's nothing better than going in your greenhouse. You see this pepper, it's alive, it's got a vibrance, it's got an energy around it. You pick it, and then you cook it. I always thank all these plants and animals and everything for the blessing of allowing my body food.
Right.
And then you go cook it. It tastes so different, But if you pick something from, Walmart's warehouse that's been in there for 5 months, there's no energy in it. It's died. It's dead. And so you're eating dead food effectively, which is it that good for you? Probably not, So I'm really hoping that when this new administration gets in, and again, I'm not interested in politics, not interested in religion. I believe in one God, many paths. I do believe in Jesus' teachings because he just taught don't judge people, love people, the fundamentals of life. And I abide my life by that. But I think, with politics, it's not working. I think what's happening is all the governments around the world have become corrupt. They're laundering money and everything else. I'm hoping in the United States that the government gets so small and almost disappears, where all the power goes back to the state. That means that the people are going to get the opportunity to have their voice heard, and I really hope we get there.
Right. I think we're spreading from here in the U.S. for making our changes that we want to make. We want our freedoms back. A lot of the big tech people are swinging back towards us and saying, well, we're going to abide by the First Amendment. We're not going to cancel people or cancel information or even shows like this. And hopefully they don't see us as talking bad or whatever. But uh, I want to get into what's the current events going on. Dr. Greer, and a lot of people in the ufology field, they know of this Dr. Greer. He's got about 20 whistleblowers that he's supposed to have a disclosure this week. It was supposed to have been early in January, hasn't happened yet. I don't know if this announcement from future President Trump, if that announcement that he made that he's going to disclose about the drones and what's going on the 21st of January, day after his inauguration, because he's got so much to do on the day of his inauguration. But he promised these reporters that he would disclose what's going on with the drone phenomena. My opinion, I know you and I are pretty close to this, but you have some theories about that. I heard there was a couple of highfalutin colleges. I think it's Princeton. I don't want to be wrong about it, but they have worked on this anti gravity, machines that can just they utilize gravity as a propulsion. So and anti-gravity as a propulsion. But there's been a couple of colleges work on that, and they said they have those drones that can do that, that can stay aloft for 7 or 8 hours because they don't use that kind of a fuel, just anti-gravity fuel. But also, I heard that these drones come out of water, and I want you to comment on each one of these comments I make, Dr. Macklin, because so we can, share notes here. The drones come out of water, and they've been seen by the Coast Guard coming out of the water. So I don't know if we have drones that can be underwater and then come out. And also, these drones don't have a frequency that we can use our modern frequency weapons on. They tried to use these weapons against these drones to try to intercept, the control signals that go to these drones. They got to be controlled. So with these big guns, they're bulky looking guns, and they shoot them at these. They shoot a frequency, and they actually can bring the drone down because it doesn't have any orders to what it's supposed to do. But these weapons don't work. They said they tried them at a couple of bases and they don't work from all indication. And also, they don't emit any heat. There's no heat signature. Of course, any gravity propulsion would probably not produce that much heat that I don't know.
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
No, it wouldn't.
So, and also they turn off their lights and they can disappear from the radar, that you can't track them on radar. We got plasmoids, in which I think I mentioned to you, and I want you to expound on that, and let us know what you think about that. So let's talk about plasmoids, orbs, shape shifting orbs, and let's talk about the drones that we could be making, that we're making, anti gravity drones, and the drones that are up there chasing these other drones, and of course, our helicopters and jets are ours. Could you tell us a little bit about what you think, Dr. Macklin, with all that?
Well, I've reviewed some of this, and I mean, they've had anti-gravitational craft since the 1960s. And they've been in space for a long, long time. And people think, oh, we if we ever been to Mars? Absolutely. They have jump sites. I don't really know what a jump site is, but it's a room who can switch you into time space where you can be on Mars. It's almost like pyramids. The pyramids of Giza, at one time, you could travel in them. So if you went in there, then you could travel to another pyramid site, if you put the coordinates in. It's the same with these jump sites. So you jump in, you walk in this room, they shut the door, you dial in the coordinates of another jump site on Mars, bang, you can be there in, seconds. And they have those already. They also have anti-gravitational, craft. There's a big war going on externally on the planet still, between the Dracos, the Anunnaki, draconians, and all the rest of them, archons, versus the benevolent beings like, the Palladians, Arcturians, Lumerians, Atlantarians, Andromedans. All these guys are here to help us, Lyrans. And, they're here to help us because they don't want us to have a demise and they don't want us to be manipulated and taken out. So they've had spacecraft, actually anti-gravitational craft is easy to do. It's just, people never thought of it until, of course, I think it was Hitler did a deal with the reticular greys, that you can abduct our people, but I want technology. And he was testing anti-gravitational craft and produced them, in the 1940s, 50s. So, yeah, we've actually got them. These drones are, in my belief, I think these drones are probably deep state, ran by the malevolent beings, because if they're spraying poisons, I mean, what a great thing to do, So you create a mist and then the craft go in, you can't see them, you can't hear them, and they're spraying poisons in the air, like pathogens. And pathogens, it's interesting because this world, uh, I don't think pathogens were originally on. And then we got leprosy. What's that? Oh, it's a pathogen, So hang on, that's a gain of function from helical bacterial structures. But that was 2,000 years ago. Who knew how to produce that then? Well, if you look at Atlantis, all this stuff happened at the same time again in that time where we were given technology, we didn't do very well with it, and, Atlantis fell. This time is different because we've been training for this time. And I think now they've got herpes. I mean, I don't really know, but, herpes simplex, sexually transmitted herpes, Epstein-Barr, gain of function, they're all gain of function. Cerebella zoster, do you know it's a herpes, strain of virus created from herpes? It's chicken pox. They're all slightly different. And then you've got things like stealth pathogens. What are they? Well, they're pathogens, but they just replicate a lot quicker. Like Borrelia, when it blows up the body becomes Lyme. HIV blows up the body becomes AIDS. Agent Orange blows up the body becomes Agent Orange. And then you've got Morgellons, which is nanoparticles, which if you've got Morgellons, you've got Lyme because the things are bound to those particles. And then you've got the bioweapon, the COVID jab, which has got like everything in it. And it's just beyond me why. Well, it's not beyond me. I understand why they're trying to get rid of the load of the population, and the answer is because One of the things Gates came out with is that he wants to actually block the sun out because of global warming. Well, it's always changed. Like in the 70s, it was global cooling, then it's global warming, and now it's climate change because it's all nonsense. But one of the things they wanted to do, the deep state, is block the sun out. So the oxygen reduces because the trees don't produce so much oxygen, and the reptilian element in the big cities underneath the planet don't breathe that much oxygen. So they want to come up on top. And that's why I think they're trying to reduce the oxygen. So it's the reptilians who want to come up and actually take over the planet. So, the governments are just puppets, they really are. And I think hopefully the generals and Donald Trump, people think it's all, Trump. It's not, it's his generals as well. And they're all over the world trying to create a mechanism where they can take all this satanic deep state thing out. And I think it's a good thing. I'm not into politics, but I like people who are going to save the planet. I think it's
Right.
great.
Me too. I think Elon, I mean, people may argue with me, but I think Elon is one of the nicest billionaires we have. Most of them are corrupt, but now six of them have come forward and sided with Trump. There was a book written in 1892. I might have mentioned this on another show, and it was Baron Trump's Greatest Adventures. It was written by a guy named Lockwood in 1892, and then he wrote a follow up 2 years later. And it said Baron Trump had a father who became president, and he had a tower in New York. And this is time traveling. And
Oh, yeah.
I have
Yeah.
I have a buddy, Troy Anderson, and we might even work a project together. I hope so. He's a great writer. He's an award-winning writer, a big writer, and he wrote the Trump Code. And actually, this book made it down to Mar-a-Lago, down at Trump's house. And Trump signed it, sent it back to him, and he said he's going to use that book to put it in people's party favors in a bag. You know, when you go to a hotel or something, they put party favors in there. He's going to put that book in a bag and give it to people. And he says that Trump's a time traveler, and it's interesting because have you ever noticed Melania? No, I mean, people are going to kill me for this, but do you ever notice Melania,
Nah, we don't.
Ivanka? They look like Palladians. They look like tall Palladian women. For some reason,
They are Palladians.
yeah,
Trump's a Palladian as well.
yeah. And I'm seeing ET, and it's funny that Elon joined Trump, and his ex-wife said she thinks Elon Musk is an ET or hybrid, and that's
Oh, he is. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
so.
I'm an ET hybrid. I was spliced here at birth. I
Yeah,
was a Melchizedek being. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yes.
But
Star.
he's using all his Starseed family to really help down here. And I think they've got a good grip on it. This is not politics. It's actually
No,
it goes beyond politics. It's actually saving the planet. Is everyone going to die of pathogens and horrible things, or are we going to turn it around and create an amazing world? And
right.
the answer is we're turning it around. We've won already. It's just going to take time.
And it's not the Democrats that are the enemy, and it's not the Republicans that are the enemy. It's the deep state that you're talking about, the ETs that run things and puppetize all these politicians. Uh, Now, getting back to the drones and disclosure, what did you think about Dr. Greer having a group together? And he's supposed to have done it already. It hasn't been done. I'm looking at that. He might be presenting some old material that we've already seen, but what do you think about disclosure, Dr. Macklin?
I think it's going to start happening when Trump gets in. I think disclosure is going to be the number one thing because it's like my father. I remember one day he's 90, he's not very well and whatever, and but he said to me one day, he said, "You believe in ETs, don't you?" I said, "Well, yeah." He said, "But we're the only race." I said, "How do you work that way?" Well, we're the only race in this universe. I said, "But the universe is infinite. You think we're the only race and there's so many planets." I said, "That would be very, condescending of you to think that we're the only race and there's nobody else. Of course, there's somebody else. Yeah, I've met them. I've seen greys. I came up against some greys in a it was in a ranch, yeah, and Stardust Ranch. Have a look it up. John Edmonds. He's actually passed away a couple of years ago, God bless him, but he was a great guy. And he ran a ranch to save horses. And he was getting upset because what happened is one morning we get up and these horses, one of them had been dismembered and the greys were eating them, and he was really upset. So I went up there and I spent the whole weekend. And he said a portal opens at a particular time, the greys come through, da da da, and they take his horses and then it closes. So I hunted down this portal and I saw the greys, but I also saw I've got being a peculiar being, I've got three watchers. What are watchers? Look at Enoch, but look at the Book of Enoch, watchers.
Right.
They're actually protectors. They're three Arcturian craft. So if something gets scary, they appear in the sky. So anyway, I was working on this portal, worked on it all weekend, got the codes for it, bang, it opened. So it was a sonic boom. Now, normally you said it opened on the floor, but the Arcturians modified it so it opened about 3 or 4 foot, 300 or 400 feet above, because the Arcturians knew damn well that I have no fear. I just walk into the portal, and they said, "Well, that's not a good idea." So anyway, that happened. As soon as it opened, the Arcturian craft came, and there was three of them. They're about a mile away, going from two to one, going behind each other, and they just hung around there. So I looked at it. So what are you guys doing here? Well, we want to make sure you don't do some stupid shit. That's what they said. I said,
True.
oh, okay.
True.
Anyway, they hung around. Yeah, they're right. I do stupid stuff. So anyway, I worked on it and there was craft coming out of it and different things. And so I looked at it and I got it completely shut down. It's closed. As soon as it closed, the Arcturians left and that was it. And he never had another problem with the Greys. So that was really interesting.
Yeah, I saw a gray face to face in bed one night, and I've seen a humanoid ET in which they're walking amongst us, like Dr. David Jacobs says, and they are walking amongst us. I think even Elon alluded to that. He says he told an interviewer one time. He said he asked him about ETs, and Elon says, "How do you know they're not already here with us?" You know, uh,
Well, they can shapeshift. Look at the Queen of England. She's a shape-shifting reptilian. Evil, I mean, I know she's passed away, but, they're evil. One thing I'd love to just go through really quick is the population over the last 500 years, because this is really interesting.
Go ahead.
So,
I'm interested.
so in the 1500s, there's 438 million people. So 438 million people, 1600, 500 million people. So you've got about another 60 million people. 1700, 610 million. So you've got another 110 million. 1800s, 1 billion. So that's another 390 million. 1900s, 1.6 billion. 2000, 1.6 billion goes to 6.114 billion people.
Yeah.
And you kind of think, in 100 years, now people must have gone for a lot of candlelit dinners and co-created, or there's something else going on. And then from 2000 to 2024, so it goes from 6.144 billion to 8.7 billion. This doesn't make sense. That's why I believe there's probably about 64% what they call non-player characters, where they're kind of either born out of a plastic, container, which means that they're biologically alive, but they have no human soul. Because one thing I'm trying to teach people, and it's my belief, I may be wrong, but I don't think I am. If you want to bear a human being, you need a woman's womb with all the God connections so that you can get a proper human soul through. If you don't have that, if it's in a plastic container, you end up with a bot, which is a AI run basic soul. That's why if you look at the CIA and people, they've got a lot of non-character players where they wear glasses. Why is that? Because there's no soul in there. If you look at their eyes, they're completely dead.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
thought that I want to point out that was interesting because I think it's really important to see the difference. It doesn't make sense, but people never look at it. It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, history is not what we think it is. We've been lied to by the elites, the kings and queens, and the ETs underground, and the Pope. and also the king and the queen of UK, and other kings and queens, I guess, are in that same group. And then you have these other subgroups like Illuminati and the Satanists that worship Satan. And I agree with you with Jesus Christ. He also had watchers. He would go into a town and they would watch, make sure the Roman soldiers weren't coming around when he was at dinner with some people. And so he said love, kindness, and forgiveness. And those are three things that I took from Jesus. And he was a teacher. And but yeah, I'm like you. I believe of God of many paths. I'm a spiritual person, and I don't say amen. Maybe you can shine some light on this. I know I'm kind of breaking the topic here, but I don't say amen anymore because 40,000 or 60,000 years ago with the Sumerians, with the Anunnaki, when they bowed down to the king of the Anunnaki, they bowed down and they said amen. That was his name. Amen. The
It
great.
is, yeah.
Is that
You
true?
should be saying it is true, and you should be saying so be it.
Yeah.
Oh, so be it. You always need to close a prayer off. I don't like the word prayers. I love the word maps of intent because it's really interesting. If you look at, and in fact, we've got on our website the direct Arabic translation of the Lord's Prayer. If you read that, it looks very different. It's not Paul as victim and we're not worthy. It gives you goosebumps.
Right.
It makes you shiver. So have a look on the website. It's really interesting. The direct Arabic translation of the Lord's Prayer. It's a complete map of manifestation. It's amazing. But of course, as years go on, you've got the King James version. So why would you want to read the Bible when it's been rewritten by King James, who's in charge, who wants to suppress the people?
Right.
Um,
Stop
let
them
me
from
see.
stealing gold.
You wouldn't. So yeah, I mean, have a look at that. I'm all for things that are truthful, and that's the thing about me. I don't engage with nonsense. It's even like people, if you go and see like a reader, a lot of readers are manipulated. Why is that? Because they don't clear themselves. What happens is there's a big Anunnaki sitting here. And so I start talking to him and say, well, let's talk about Dave. Oh yeah, Dave's, doing a podcast, and well, that's true. How did you know that? And say you weren't there, you're just on the phone.
Mhm.
And Dave's done this and Dave's done that. So what they'll do is they'll give you three truths, like, oh yeah, I did that, and then they'll give you one lie. Oh yeah, but really Dave's path is he's got to go to France. He's got to buy that house with a pink roof, red doors, and green something. And you kind of think, what? And what'll happen is because you've had three truths, you'll believe the lie. And so you'll go over to France. Some crazy person has painted their color of that house. You'll buy it because, oh, well, that's what the reader said. When actually they've taken you completely off, your divine path. To me, the divine path is all about surrender. It starts with gratitude, and it also starts with really service to others. I do service to others. I mean, twice a week I do a healing where it's by donation. If people don't have any money, I always say, look, I've been there. I got the t-shirt. I want you to come on, get as much healing as you need, because my job here is to get people back to their sovereign selves. No one's going to save you except for you. And it takes time, because everyone's got trauma. So you've got to release the trauma. You've got to take your power back so you can actually step out there and do things for other people as well. That's the whole point. There's no such thing as gurus. I see gurus sometimes. Like, I remember being at an expo and this guy came up and said, well, here's Guru Anna. I said, oh, hi, Guru Anna. Why'd you put your name Guru before your name? My name's Christopher Macklin. I have no middle name. I'm a commoner. Who cares? I'm just me, and I don't need this doctor and blah, 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 blah. I'm just me, Christopher Macklin, and what I'm doing in the world is doing my best to help as many people as possible. And I think that's important. And I really encourage people to go with their intuition, because there's a lot of false people out there and people who manipulate, and the only person who's going to tell you the truth is you. And so use your intuition. Is that person resonating? If they're not, walk away. If they are, then yeah, listen to them. That's a really important message. And I know when people start the intuition, well, am I right? Well, check with some of the people first. When I first started, Dave, I got intuition and I thought, okay, leukemia works like that. Let me check with and I remember it was 2 in the morning. I got this vision of how leukemia works. I thought, that makes sense. But so I phoned two people, one in Ireland, one in England, because it was 2 in the morning, eight in the morning in England and Ireland, and they confirmed it. I thought, wow. And after a while, uh, you get the confidence to realize that your intuition is it. That first gut feeling, you can never. It's always the truth, and that's important. Thought I'd share that with you.
Right. Yeah, I know that a lot of the people you're talking about a while ago, I heard they don't have a soul. And at conception, they actually have filmed this inside the womb, and where the sperm meets the egg and it goes in, and at that moment there's a flash. They said there's a little brilliant flash, and they called it, there's a couple of chemicals involved that causes that flash, but they say that's the time that life starts, and that's when the soul actually goes into this human. But there are some people that are soulless, and like you said, they're walking around. They wear shades, and they could be CIA. They could be these people that kill people. I'm not, are unalive. Let's say. I'm sorry about that. They say unalive now. They unalive people, without a heart. They have no empathy, no sympathy for people, and this is way. And they're saying that this is we're being more corrupt these days, and I think it's the evil, maybe ETs that are breaking through. Dr. Macklin, is that what you would think?
Oh yeah, I mean it's interesting. Can I talk about that? Probably not. Okay, let me take an example because something happened about a year ago. I don't think I should talk about it, but I can relate it to Ted Bundy. Yeah. So
Mhm.
Ted Bundy is a serial killer.
Right.
So you think, okay, what makes a human being chop 37 women up and kill them and whatever? And the answer is because that's not normal human behavior. We're empathy, we're love, and everything else. So how did that happen? Well, he got possessed by a really dark draconian entity. How do I know? Well, I wanted to understand this. So I listened to there's a whole documentary on him, and the end bit gave you the answer. So this reporter sat there and he's in death row and he said in third party, how would somebody, not him, but somebody, do the things that he did, but he didn't say him. He said, how would somebody do that? Ah, well, he explained the whole thing, everything, why it happened, da da da. Then he said, well, how would you do it? His eyes went black. He got really aggressive because you've just actually riled up that complete possession entity. And I see it, and it's happened a year ago where somebody got a complete entity and murdered one of their family members brutally. So that just shows you that there's complete possession, and yeah, absolutely, and people become evil because it's not them. One of the things about the COVID jab is this, that it was an Archon covenant. If you look at the Archon covenant, make them sick, give them pills, everything else. The Archons have no body. They float through the second, third, and fourth dimension. So they want bodies to control. So how do you do that? Well, if you inject the vaccine, it's got CRISPR technology. What it does is it splices the chromosomes. Now, I don't know if you know this, but your soul is compatible with your DNA, the light body in the DNA. If you change that DNA, it's not compatible. It lifts out about an inch or two out of the body on an umbilical cord. It can't get back in. And I can prove this, I'll just, as a sideline, in 2009, before that, I used to give my blood to the blood transfusion service. It was O negative. And I have proof, in fact, I haven't got it here, but I can show you proof. Then I had this thing out of left field where they, melted the bicuspal valve and had to go in and get it replaced and whatever. And I was in there and they said, we're going to have to give you blood. I thought, oh no, you've got to be kidding. I said, well, it's O negative. Oh, okay, but we've got to check it ourselves. He sent it for tests. It came back, it's A negative. It's completely changed because I reset my DNA back to the blueprint. But what I'm saying is, once the DNA's changed, because your soul's not compatible with the light body in your DNA, it lifts out. What happens? Oh, an archon comes in. That's why people who get jabbed get kind of aggressive, checked out, because they're not the same person. It's interesting.
Right. I read in your notes, and I've talked to you before about it. ETs, interdimensional beings, they're actually invisible. They can come through in a portal in your house. And I've had that happen. I've had pictures with my infrared camera, take pictures of some of this stuff going on. And they're always elusive. They only show you just a little bit. They don't show you a whole lot. They just let you know, okay, we're here. And they're invisible, but they can spread negative energy. I know I've probably been hit by negative energy by these ETs or interdimensional beings since I've been visited quite a bit, and I have a history of all this stuff. And that's what makes me feel really low sometimes. I get hit with this energy. You actually treat people, Dr. Macklin, that has had negative ET energy that they've been hit with, and they're trying to put up with like a trauma. How do you treat that, Dr. Macklin? How do you find that out in people?
Well, you can actually, I can remote view in their body and see what's going on. Remote viewing. There's two types of remote viewing. One is where you can get the soul to leave the body, and so you relax, the soul leaves the body, it sits on the side. Okay, what can you see? And then it walks off and goes and does things, and then it comes back in. But it's an on umbilical cord. My type of remote viewing is different, and it's better, and I'll tell you why. Because if you go on a military base, they have detectors of things like energy detectors. So if your soul's there, they know you're there. With mine, we can remote view at a distance where you can actually see through a kind of portal, but through another Melchizedek being. So your soul's not physically there. So it means they can't detect you, the two remote viewing. It's almost like just having a video. They can show you in time, space of different areas. And, it's like the body. When I'm looking at people's bodies, okay, let's look at the kidneys. Oh, they don't look well. So, okay, let's put that there. It's almost like having a windows full of windows of their body and switching between the two, making sure that we're doing psychic surgery. But yeah, yeah, you can remote view people's bodies and find out where the energy's stuck. And then, what I tend to do is if they've got an empty attachment, 99.9999% people who come for a healing have got an attachment. What I do is put them in 8 portals, bond it into Merkaba fields, and then once I've done that, from the ultimate dimension is where the Melchizedek beings are from. People have this misdemeanor that there's only 36 36 layers or 36 there's infinite dimensions, and they'll learn that one day. And that means, the universe and the whole thing is just ever expanding. And so, that means they can come from the ultimate dimension through a portal because obviously that's their vibration. Once you've vibrated that person's body to a certain level, they can walk in the body and do things. So that's my job. And then, of course, they can't do things without permission. And that's where healing comes in. If you say, well, just go in and heal that person, heal what? The universe is very specific. Look at the keys of Enoch. You have to be specific. Like, okay, they've got a hole in the heart, so let's go and actually rebuild the heart and let's close the hole off. But you have to be specific in the universe. That's what Enoch taught us, who was also a Melchizedek being. So it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And we can also release the emotion of people being abducted. I remember one lady, she was abducted by the grey reticular. And I went over to Florida, and her house was She said it was 5 minutes away. It wasn't. It was about 50 minutes away, but that's another story. But anyway, she said, look, can you come to the house? There's portals and things. I said, oh, it's only 5 minutes away. 50 minutes later, we got there. I said, well, okay. Thanks for telling me how far it was, but never mind. I closed all the portals. We put crystal grids, one-dimensional Merkabah fields in there. Um, and she felt as though she'd been raped. She was so upset. Her womb was like really tender. Because what they do is they steal the eggs and steal guys' sperm. That's
Yeah.
what they do.
Hmm.
And they make their humanoids. Now, sometimes what they can do is they can actually fertilize a woman, fertilize her becomes a fetus. They leave it there for a month. And so people say, oh, God, I'm pregnant. And then they abduct them again, take it out. I don't understand it. I thought I was pregnant. I'm not. Well, you were, but you're not now.
Yeah. Well,
So, and I think it's evil. It's wrong.
right. And that
And,
baby,
and if
would that baby have a soul if they took it out 2, 3 months later from the woman? Would it have a
it,
soul? Macklin?
it may do. You've got 3 months to get the soul in. So, does it have a soul by then? I think probably what they do is they probably, because normally when they do this, they put some implants in, one by the womb, so it can detect the energy of the womb, one by the heart, so heart rate, and one by the brain to detect activity there. So, I would imagine with their technology, they can probably, oh yeah, the soul's gone in. Okay, let's abduct him. Because they want a humanoid. They don't want an AI bot.
Right. I heard that there's a mixture of three. There's the male human, the female human, DNA, egg, and sperm, and then they add another one, another DNA from a an alien, ET DNA, to that, in which makes up a hybrid. Yeah, and it said three of them. I've had that little hose put to my groin several times, and I woke up and kicked it away once, and then they knocked me out. And that's what they did to me. And I met a couple of my grandkids. A lot of people think, well, Dave, you're crazy. Read my book. It's a fantastic story of this humanoid ET I met in Sedona, Arizona. And I talk about it a lot because that's the biggest story in my book that really told me that this woman was really an ET, because 5 months later she come to my house in Illinois from, and she, I don't know where she went from Sedona, but and then she brought these two younger ones. They're 15 and 16. And I knew I had a connection to them. And my cousin was sitting on the porch when they walked up, and they just disappeared, but they dumbed us down. We couldn't talk. I told that story many times. A lot of people are probably getting tired of hearing it, but I'm just saying that you're right about this DNA thing, about what they do is take, the sperm from a man, egg from the woman, and another DNA from an ET, makes it a hybrid. But I'm wondering, you said it takes 2, 3 months to create a soul, Dr. Macklin?
No, no, no. What happens is you've got up to 3 months to get the soul, and if not, the fetus will be miscarriage, and that's it.
Okay.
But and it depends. Sometimes when the fetus is created, straight away the soul will come in. Now it does go on an umbilical cord very often, but it might come in that day. What happens if they can't find somebody because you're going to planet Earth? Oh my God, I don't want to go there. No, I'm not volunteering for that. So they look for another one. Sometimes it can take them up to a couple of months to get a soul to agree to come down. Um, but I want to point out with the hybrids is really interesting because the benevolent beings, some of the benevolent beings cannot get in a human body without altering it. So Palladians, they can actually inhabit a human body with their soul. That's okay because they've got enough DNA of the Palladians. But people like Octorians or Melchizedek beings, they can't. I have 84% Melchizedek DNA. I'm really different from my father, like I say, blood type says it all, A negative. It used to be O negative, which is not the blueprint. But so, for example, Arcturians, Melchizedek, Andromedans, to get an Andromedan here or, a Arcturian, what you have to do is you have to take the egg and you actually literally like abduct whoever it is, your mother or your father. Well, it's going to be mother, and put enough DNA of that race in to get the light body of the actual soul in. If you don't, the soul can't fit in the body. It's not high enough vibration or whatever.
Right.
So some of these benevolent races have agreed with your mother already. Yeah, we need to abduct you at this time to be able to get this person down, and so that's pretty interesting. But it was agreed. It's agreed before they come here. The thing is about the grey reticular, they signed a deal with the government. We just want to steal eggs and sperm. Here's some, here's some technology. Is that okay? No. And I chaired the Galactic Federation meeting. I'm one of three Melchizedek beings who chairs the meeting. We chaired the meeting, and it was talking about education violation. What's the difference? Well, we all when we all come down here, they normally show you what happens on planet Earth. Like, oh, you see the reptilians, well, they attach to you, can manipulate you, and this, that, the other happens. Of course, you're up in the other realm. There's only unconditional love. Oh yeah, I'm coming down here, no problem. You get down here and you go, oh my God, what was I thinking? But anyway, that's just a joke.
Yeah.
But anyways, so it's a really tough planet to be on.
Yeah.
So, we're all shown that. But what happens? So let's look at that. Is that a violation of education if a reptilian like an anarchy attaches to you and manipulates you? It's an education because you knew about it. But what happens if, unbeknown to, the other beings, the the grey reticular sign a deal with Hitler and then with Eisenhower and whoever? Well, look, I'll give you more, technology if you allow me to steal your people's eggs and sperm. Is that a violation of education? It's a violation. The grey reticular was swept off the planet. Let me just think when we go to that meeting. It was 2017. It was the year I became a citizen of the United States. So they're swept off the planet. But the mistake we made is that they were swept in this time and space, not allowed to come back. So how do they get over that? Well, what they do is they open portals. So they're in the same space but different time. And so they're still manipulating people through portals. And I think, we should have tightened it up, but that's what it was. But it has stopped, the craft from taking the people and stealing their body parts.
I'm going to hit you with one more question before we call it quits for this show, but we're going to have a show number two, a follow-up show with this.
Yes.
Uh, and we'll probably wait until some of this disclosure is going on, and after what Trump makes his announcement and what we know about the drones and everything, and then we'll do a follow-up. I just want you to shortly just tell people, a lot of people I've seen on the internet, and they're just like me, they're just so tired sometimes and they get so exhausted, and they said, does everybody feel this way? And I think a lot of people do. They have a mundane life. They live from one day to the next. They go to work, they come home. What can you tell people, Dr. Macklin, about how they can help improve themselves or lift themselves up while we're going through all these massive changes the last 4 years, and this year seems to be a real doozy?
Well, it's interesting because, I've seen, I mean, people's lives have changed. Everyone's buying stuff offline. No one wants to go to shops. Why is that? Well, there's a few reasons. One is, I mean, I don't know about you, Dave, but if I go to a shop, I mean, I was going to go to our local pub, to have a beer on Sunday. And I even drove down there, got outside, felt the energy, I thought, no, it's not happening. So I drove back. But also, the joy has gone out of going out because there's a thing called shedding as well. Shedding. And what shedding? Well, if you've had the jab, it replicates in the body and it sheds even more. So CRISPR technology, spike protein, everything else. My wife went to a concert with a niece in school. She sat in there within 15 minutes. She was full of hives all over her body. She had
Really?
to leave, yeah, yeah. And I've got hives all over my body by being in the hospital. But I think also that there's an element of people who are waking up thinking, wow, is this bad? And they just want to protect themselves. They want to stay at home. They want to have the thing is about starseed people, you don't talk about mundane nonsense, blah, blah, blah. I'm not interested in that. You want to talk about real people who've got real things to say. And do we have a lot of friends? No, we don't. I'm sure you don't.
True. Yeah, I find that talking about going to a social and meeting so and so is excited that I'm sitting there thinking, can we talk about something a little deeper? Yeah, I know how you feel, and I'm just
Yeah, I know.
yeah,
The planet's in trouble here. I want to see other people's perspective. I'm not interested in
no,
talking about the local blah blah blah. I'm really not. I'm not being disrespectful to them.
no, me neither.
And then there's an element of actually people who go out and they go to work, they earn a paycheck, they hardly have any money. They go to the store on the way home, buy all this plastic, crap that they eat and take it home and cook it and eat it, and it happens next day and next day and next day. They're not really achieving something. What I want to do is get people to get a grip of their lives and say, one of the biggest things is what's your passion? What's going to really excite you right now if you did it? And it could be anything. Oh, well, I love painting, but I can never make money out of it. But how do you know? Dave, I went to 20 years ago. Is it 20 years ago? I went for a reading. It was near Liverpool in England, a place called Birkenhead, very rough area. This woman's supposed to be an off the charts reading. I thought, yeah, I'll go. So I went to this terraced house, which is like a load of houses in a row. And, oh, it's number 78. Knocked on the door. This lady's about 84 or something. She comes out, yeah, oh, I've got a reading. Oh, yeah, come in. And so I sat down and she said, right, let's do the reading. She goes, yes, thank you. And she started writing this. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I thought, this is interesting. Writing all this stuff down. This is 20 years ago when I was actually in corporate systems designing autopilots for people like Airbus, Eurofighter, that she goes, well, you're going to get remarried. I thought, oh, okay, well, it's okay. She said, you're going to move to America. Okay. So, you're going to live off donations. What? I didn't say this to her. I said, oh, okay. And you're going to do healing for a living. And so I said, oh, well, that's a wonderful reading, And I went out and thought, wow, that's a bit strange.
Yeah,
Move to America, do healings, live off donations, and have a new wife. Oh, it arrived. Everything she said exactly was correct. I live off donations, and I was just blown away by it. But of course, there's no time for it.
yeah,
So, what I'm trying to say to people is that if you think you can't make money out of things, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the money part. If you put the energy, it's like, if I did a painting for, a gallery and took it there, they'd probably throw me out and say, never come back. This is terrible, because I can't paint for toffee. There's lots of things I can't do. But what I can do is I can do healing and I can really help people turn around and take their power back. And one of the things is surrender. If God's got a gift and channels it and, you're doing your gift, you're always going to be blessed. You won't be a multimillionaire. I've got 8 staff, and it costs several $100,000 to run this ministry. It's not a small enterprise, but I don't worry about it. I'm not interested. God. Look, I always say, God, if you want us to run it, you take care of all the sales and stuff. I'm not interested in sales, not interested in. All I'm interested in is working with people, getting them better, and see people when they take their power back. Oh my God, I feel incredible. That's the key. Because once you take your power back, you're going to be an amazing manifester. And I think, then you can step out, you can do your art, you can do your greenhouses with your food in, you can do your oils, whatever you want to do, and you'll always do okay. You won't be a multimillionaire, but you'll always be blessed. And that's the key, I think.
Yeah, I don't make much money on books. Of course, the subject matter, most people don't get into it, but they will probably now, within the next week or two, they'll probably be wanting to know more about ETs and UFOs. And there's going to be people like you and I who have been trying to teach enlightenment. And I don't make any money on podcasts. I enlighten people. I enjoy doing this, spreading the word of things that I learned ever since I was 13 years of age with ETs and UFOs. So you're right, Dr. Macklin. You're right. I keep going with this, even though there's not money in it, but there is a feeling that I'm doing something, and people are hearing some of the things that I'm trying to tell them,
Oh
and
yeah.
having guests like you that are explaining things, and this is what they like, and that's what they listen to, and the consciousness is what I'm trying to, I guess, teach people from these shows, and I.
It's making a difference. And like you say with your book, if you change one life, you've changed everything. I mean, I wrote I've got 6 books here, did I write them? It's my information. But I'd be lying to say that if I actually put the words in them, because I've got dyslexia. And I tried everything. When I first started writing my book, I used dragon naturally speaking, blah, 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 and I mentioned Zeta Gray, came up with Have a Nice Day. And by the time I'd done about 8 pages, it was just gobbledygook. I thought, that's a waste of time.
Yeah.
So I got a ghostwriter. What's interesting about a ghostwriter is that, use people who have got the skills to be able to help you. I've got the knowledge, but how do I interface my knowledge to the outside world? Well, my ghostwriter, I'm on the phone to her, with the headset on. I walk around on Skype and, I say, da, 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 this is how this works. Well, what do you mean by this? And then you expand it. And they're great at interfacing what you have, which, if you can't write, I can't write, I wouldn't have a clue. They interface what you know to the outside world, and that's a gift in itself. So
I wrote all four of my books. The most I've ever done on my books is sometimes I'll hit a page with Grammarly to see if I'm using really fiery adjectives, adverbs, or whatever. And sometimes Grammarly will hit me, and they'll say, "Well, why don't you use this word instead of that?" And so I see it that it's more colorful, and I said, "Okay," but sometimes half the time it's wrong, and you got to watch using those types of applications on writing because they'll misconstrue your whole line of thought in what you're trying to write. So you got to be real careful using those things. But they do add like adjectives, adverbs, and verbs and things like that sometimes when you get in a habit of writing, you get in that same routine of writing. And sometimes your writing style kind of messes you up when you want to start another book. So what you do is you try to incorporate some of these other, like Grammarly throwing in these adjectives and adverbs at you, and you say, okay, yeah, that's sounds better than what I had, and so I'll have it corrected. But I don't use it that much. I just make a check point of what I'm writing. But everything I that's in these books is coming from me, and I don't let Grammarly change anything
I don't blame.
except some
No, it's
adjectives and things. But we're going to end the show, Dr. Macklin, and we're gonna be back. And I think after this disclosure and after what's going on next week, we could have some. We might be talking a little differently about the drones and what's going on up there. So maybe we can find out for sure. But will we know for sure, Dr. Macklin? I'm not sure. Even Trump.
I'm not sure they'll. Yeah, I'm not sure they'll disclose it all because there's definitely. Uh, is it weaponized? Some of it, and I don't think they will. I think there's going to be disclosure, but it's going to be slow.
Yeah.
They, I mean, they keep talking about this 10 days EBS, and they're going to put everything out and show all the pedophiles hung and da da da. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to go in stages.
Yeah.
You know,
I do.
Otherwise you'll freak people out.
Yeah. Yeah, like I was at church one time and I don't go to church anymore. I went there a couple of years ago, the men's meeting, and they asked me what I do. And I said, well, I'm retired, but I said I write and I do podcasts and I work out. And they said, oh, what do you write about? I said, well, right now I'm writing about UFOs and ETs. And they give me a dirty look and they looked at me and they said, we don't even go there. And then they turned around and walked away from me. And I thought, wow, how close minded, you know?
Yeah,
That's
but they're supposed to be Christian people.
yeah,
I remember going out with a couple of Southern Baptist people, and you're sitting there. It was actually in an Indian restaurant. We having food, and I said, "What do you do for a living?" That's always the question.
yeah,
Oh no, oh no. So I said, "Well, uh, I do healing." Well, what sort of healing is in the name of the Lord? I said, "Well, kind of."
yeah,
And then I thought, oh, blow it. Let's tell them how it works. Portal in and this, that, and the other. And the fluoride's down. Never invited us again. I thought, that's okay. But how judgmental is that? Jesus taught about no judgment, and that's the way it should be.
yeah. Politics and religion. There we go again. Dr. Christopher Macklin, thank you so much for being on the show. We'll have you
Oh, thanks.
shortly. And
Thanks, Dave.
to the strange reality with Dave Emmons. And good night or good evening or good morning, whatever you listen to the show, because it's always up there for you to look at. And I have a lot of people who actually watch the show a week or 2 weeks later, and it's always there for them to see. So I know that they're following me, and I appreciate that from all the viewers. Thank you very much, and good night from the strange reality and Dr. Christopher Macklin.